What's up, y'all? So you've made the decision to move to Austin, Texas. You've been considering some of the areas and maybe you're looking at Austin itself. Well, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the worst things about living in Austin, Texas. And I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat things and try to make them kind of on the nicer scale of saying the worst things. This video is just going to be straight up brutal honesty. We're going to go for it, and I hope it helps you guys out. If you want to know more, stay tuned. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel Living in Austin, Texas. My name is Jay with the Brandis Properties Group. I'm a licensed agent here in the state of Texas, and I love making these videos for you guys. But what I love more is when you give me a call, reach out to me so I can help you with all your real estate needs. Give me a call, text, email, nights, days, weekends, doesn't matter. Love to hear from you guys. Please subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up, and tap that little notification bell so you'll be notified when we release the next video. With that being said, let's get this thing going. All right, so before we get into all these different points or worst things about living in Austin, Texas, let me preface it by saying that through the process of helping out our clients, and we work with clients from all over the place, people that are relocating, people that are moving here for work, people that live locally and they just want to move to a different area of town. So during that process, we like to ask our clients, we say, hey, what's your opinion? What are your thoughts? You've been looking at moving to this area. Now that you're here, does it look like what you thought it would be? Is it what you pictured? Is there anything that you wish was different? So when we go through these points, a lot of the perspective is coming from people who are coming from other places and people who have lived here for a long time and relocating and all that kind of stuff, okay? So point number one. And this is something that's coming mainly from people who have lived here for a while and have seen the growth and change. One of the worst things about living in Austin right now is the traffic, okay? The traffic is, traffic, anytime you're in a large city, there's gonna be traffic, right? You guys know this, okay? But the way traffic has been over the last several years, it gets terrible sometimes. Sometimes it can take you 20 minutes to drive 2 miles. And it has to do with, of course, the growth, but just the construction and the extension of roads and just the overall amount of people. The area wasn't really prepared to handle the explosive growth that's happened here. So when you're moving here, you kind of have to, like when I go somewhere, when I go into Austin especially, I have to add an extra 20 to 30 minutes to my trip just to make sure I get there on time and I don't run into an issue. So as far as one of the worst things, it's not like oh my gosh, I can't deal with it. It's just kind of a nuisance. It's kind of annoying. So, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about. You're driving down to get somewhere, you have an appointment, whatever it is, and all of a sudden it's like construction, detour, turn right here, and it's like you're like trying to get this way and it's telling you to go that way, and it's ever changing because of the way the construction's going. So that's one of the worst things about living in Austin. The second point, and again, this is something that a lot of people have seen, not just people that live here, but the rising costs. Austin is getting more and more expensive. It's crazy how much it's changed just in the last several years. There are places that you used to be able to pick up a home, buy a new home, spend a couple $100,000 in a great area of town. The prices have like tripled, it seems. I mean, it's insane how much the cost has risen here with all the growth. And you expect some of it, but it's just been, lately there's just been a ton. I mean, there's people who come out here, they look at homes and they're thinking like, several years ago, even a few years ago, you could almost like double the size of home for the same amount of money, depending on where you're coming from, of course. That's all gonna come into play with this. But now it's like, it's almost like neck and neck in some areas, and it's just kind of like the growth and the rising costs has driven some people out of being able to buy homes. And when that starts to happen, it starts to change everything about like the rest of your costs of living. Like everything else will go up too, your energy costs, your water costs, all that stuff continues to go up because there's more demand for it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword where it's like, for some people who are already in their homes, they're hell yeah, my value's gone up, I'm getting appreciation, everything's great. But for people coming in, sometimes those costs can be more costly than you want, So that's the second part. One of the worst things about living in Austin is just that rise in cost. Number 3, one of the questions that we get a lot from clients coming from out of the area, as they're driving around, checking out different parts of town, they drive through Austin, and they always ask, why does it look so trashy? And I always ask, like, clarify, what do you mean? What do you mean by trashy? And they're like, well, in the pictures we've seen, or in the time we came out here, 10 years ago, we came out here and it just looks different. Well, and this may be touchy for some people, but here's where some of the brutal honesty comes in. So when the city of Austin decided to make budget cuts and allow camping everywhere, instead of helping the homeless get into their homeless shelters and building more shelters for them, they just let them go everywhere. So now you've got trash, you've got shopping carts, you've got tents, you just have all this trash everywhere. Austin used to feel, when you drive through Austin, you'd be driving down IH-35, it used to have a feel like, wow, they take really good care of this city, it feels clean. It's almost like you could tell when you went from like Austin towards San Antonio, you could see a change in the way it felt when you're driving through. But now, Austin's become, it's not terrible. I've seen worse, but it's not as great as it was just a few years back. I mean, this isn't something that's gradually changed over 15, 20 years. This is like over the last maybe 5 years. So people come in and a lot of times their initial thoughts are, hey, we want to live in Austin. And I'm like, okay, we'll show you around Austin. And they're like, one of the things they bring up is like, these homes are so expensive, but you drive down the street and there's people camping under the bridges. Like, why is that even a thing where these homes are so expensive? So you got that rising cost thing, and then all of a sudden, trash, and it's dirty looking, and it's not the people that live there necessarily. It's just the way the city's been run for the last several years. It's just, they're not doing a great job. All right. So another one of the worst things about living in Austin, Texas, goes hand in hand with the rest of some of these other things, and that is the budget cuts that they've made towards their, I don't know, public safety. I got an idea. Let's allow camping everywhere in the city, and then let's turn around and let's vote it back to where it's illegal to camp in the city, but at the same time, let's make a budget cut to where our police department gets cut and they can't respond and help with some of the assistance in getting these people back into shelters and help start cleaning it up. I mean, that makes total sense to you guys, right? Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about that. I can't figure out that logic. I'm not a political guy. I'm not like a run around with a sign. That's not me. But I've been trying to understand that logic for a while now, and it's just beyond me, I guess. One of the things, and I'll pop it up right here on the screen right now, as of October 1st, the Austin Police Department had to basically say, hey, we can't respond to these types of calls anymore because we have a staffing crisis and our budget cuts and our units are cut. Like, it's a real thing, guys. It's affecting people's quality of life in the city of Austin. So it's definitely something that I would consider, and other people have told me what they would consider to be one of the worst things about living in Austin, Texas. And I think they may change it at some point. I'm hoping it can turn around. I mean, I'm sure after a while people will get tired of the way things have become, and hopefully they make the changes with their voting and all that kind of stuff. But as of right now, it's definitely on the con list about living here. Okay. So this point I'm going to bring up is something that I've definitely heard from people that live here. I've heard it from people that are moving here, and I've heard it from people who don't live here and don't want to move here, but they visited here. Okay. So this one's going to be on the political side. All right. I'm not giving an opinion on it as far as one way or the other. What I think, it's just what I'm hearing from other people and what I've seen, and I'll let you guys decide. Okay. So Austin has passed all these liberal policies in their city, and it goes into with all the other things I've talked about in this video. But if you guys know about Texas traditionally is a red state, right? Okay. So you got a red state with the blue city in the middle of it, and they're kind of trying to push out towards the surrounding cities, which most of them are red cities as well. So now you have people, it's becoming more divided. So the people who have lived here for a long time, when you're out and about and you talk with people, I mean, just normal conversation, right? It's not like heated arguments or anything like that, but they're not very receptive to a lot of those liberal policies. So one of the things that I personally enjoyed when I first moved here, I loved how conservative it was. Okay. And I don't mean that in the terms of I'm closed-minded. I'm not like, I just meant like, people cared about their properties, their freedoms, and they cared about each other. It's something, people take care of each other, and you still find that here. So it's not gone, but Austin itself is kind of walking that, it's kind of leaning more towards the liberal side of things, like the camping law, letting people camp wherever. They just got rid of the camping ordinances, and you guys hear me bring it up, but if you drive through the city, you'll see what I'm talking about, and you'll just be, you'll be amazed by how much there is. It's not something it's not fun to look at. It's not fun to be around, and God bless the people who are the ones living in these tents and bridges. They probably need something other than just help with housing. There's probably other issues going on, and that's a whole other topic and a whole other video, so I won't get into that. But I ran into a lot of it during my law enforcement years, so it's like I'm speaking kind of from that a little bit. So I know that a lot of these people just need help that they're not getting. But allowing them to just take to the streets, I mean, it deteriorates quality of life for residents, right? I mean, nobody wants to come out their front door and see see that kind of stuff. It's kind of sad how it's become that way. I mean, just a few years ago, Austin was like, go down to Austin, live music, barbecue, tons of music venues in the downtown area. And now there's a huge increase in crime, violent crime at that. And if you guys check out like niche.com or go on to like some of these websites, you can read about the different crimes and statistics. And I encourage you to do that if you're moving to the area, because it'll kind of help you decide, do I want to be in Austin? Do I want to be in Round Rock? Do I want to be in Pflugerville? All the way up to like Belton, who knows, Bastrop, whatever it is. That political change, though, is something that it's becoming more and more of a division for some people here. Okay, as a whole. I'm not saying people they're standing up for what they believe in, but it's becoming more and more of a struggle between the two sides, is a good way to word it. And it's mainly in Austin. So so if you guys are looking at Austin on a map, you'll find a lot more of that in Austin. And then as you get out, it's more the traditional Texas conservative views. I know some of the other bigger cities have these same issues in the state and all over the country. But yeah, it's definitely something that if you guys have a certain thing, like, and I bring this up because a lot of people I talk to that are moving here, they use the word escape. They want to escape the politics that they're dealing with because they feel like their quality of life is changing in a negative way. Well, with the amount of growth that's occurring here, some of it is coming here too. So you just have to be aware and just kind of make sure you're doing your research before you commit to living in certain areas and certain cities where the majorities, with their votes, they're controlling that quality of life that you're looking for or trying to escape. You want to make sure you don't end up in the same thing, just in a different place. So what do you guys think? Out of the few things I've mentioned today, do you have anything else you think is bad or negative or one of the worst things about living in Austin? What have you guys heard? If you're not from here or if you don't live here, what have you guys heard about it? Have you guys heard good, bad, anything? I mean, drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. I mean, this is definitely things you need to consider when you're moving, and there's people out there who may see this video and may be able to provide some insight that they have from their personal experiences. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. I'm really curious to see, especially those of you that are like living in Austin and some of these areas that have changed so much over the last several years. I'd be real curious to see what your thoughts are on that. All right, well, I hope you found that video helpful. I know sometimes people have a lot of questions about these kinds of things. So if you give us a call, text, email, nights, days, weekends, it doesn't matter. We're here to help you. I'm the guy that answers those calls and texts. Please subscribe to the channel. Smash that thumbs up. Tap that notification bell. Remember, we got your back when you're moving to Austin, Texas. And until the next time, catch you later.